Now, all right. So for those of you who are jumping on right on time, good for you. You are very studious folks. Fred Rea here, founder of Rain City Capital. We are a hard money lender in the greater Puget Sound area. And today is near and dear to my heart. We are talking about loans. And for those of you who don't know, I started out in the mortgage business. And once I figured out how lame it was, I got the hell out and started a hard money company. But these guys are true trailblazers. They have been in the business and are continuing to do the business for a long time. We got Cody Touchette. Is that how you say it?
Touchette? Yep, you got it.
Touchette, yeah. Okay. Just want to be PC. He's been in the business 20 plus years, owns a bunch of doors, flipped houses, investor. He's crushing it right now. Caliber Home Loans. And then we got Albert. He's doing the exact same thing. I'm not sure if you're flipping much though, but you're definitely buying multifamily. You're out there crushing loans. So thank you guys for coming on and hanging out with me. And this is a happy hour, so just so you guys know, I am drinking and they are drinking too. So if it gets weird by the end, it's the alcohol and it's not really us. What are you gonna do? So anyway, I want to start out just with a little housekeeping. If you guys have a question and you want to ask it, there is a Q&A section at the bottom of this thing. So just go down there, get on the Q&A, ask the question, and near the end of it, we're going to try to get to everybody's questions. And sometimes we'll answer some of the questions in the middle, but we'll try to get there. So definitely, and you can target it to Cody, Albert, or myself, and we'll try to tackle them as they come. If you want to just in the chat feed, if you put something on there, it may get lost. We have a couple of people, Jeff and Madeline, they're on. If they might ping you and say, hey, do you guys want to come up later or whatnot? So just if you get a message from Rain City or Jeff, make sure to answer it. We may not be appropriate, but let's just try to keep it appropriate with everybody else. That's kind of ground rule in general. If not, if you're going crazy, we're just gonna boot you and say bye-bye. With that housekeeping aside, I want to get to know you guys a little bit before we get into this kind of craziness. So if you could travel to one place tomorrow, where would that be? Cody, go ahead.
I will go first because I had a great dream trip to Bali planned that we were supposed to leave on April 16th. We've gone for like 2 weeks, and obviously we did not go. So I want to go to Bali, and I was all prepped and ready, like research, ready to go. All these great Airbnbs booked, and here we are still working from home for the last 2 months.
You know about the left-hand thing in Bali, right?
No, I'd never been to Bali, so tell me all about it.
Well, that's I don't want to start out with the inappropriateness. It's just kind of funny.
You'll have to tell me about it later.
Yeah, maybe. Albert, what about you? If you could go to one place tomorrow, where would you go?
I smirked when Cody mentioned that because I had a trip booked to Bali or Seminyak or whatever, the city that's south of Bali.
Yeah, that's where we're going.
Yeah, and it was supposed to go the 27th, April, till May 28th. I was going to be a digital nomad, do loans 15 hours ahead. But, it didn't work out. Got a refund, and here we are, right? So.
Dang, I had a trip to London that I was going to go. I was going to be in London, Paris, Belgium, and yeah, obviously that died too. What are you going to do? So along that same vein, we got a big weekend, right? It's Memorial Day.
Oh shoot, yeah, it is.
What are you guys gonna do?
This is where I'll be.
Yeah. Hanging out.
So Cody, you're still in the office?
Yeah, we're in the office.
Nice.
I mean, not our whole office. I just came in to work some stuff, but most of our staff's working from home. This is a better internet connection. I didn't want to lose you guys midway through. So, yeah, I mean, I'll probably work from home some. If the sun comes out, I go out on the boat, but we're staying in town, not going anywhere.
You can get internet out in the water?
Yeah.
That would be sweet. Just work out in the water.
Yeah.
That's fancy. I know a couple people that have been working from their boat so far, and it's a good place to be. Okay, so if there's one thing that has kept you sane during this kind of crazy quarantine time, what would be that one thing? Maybe two.
Alcohol? No.
Yeah.
It's probably not helping. It's probably hurting more than it's helping. Man, I've got a really great team, and we have we can trade off having freak out moments together, right? So being able to help each other through this and having that work family to be able to lean on, I think has been really important. And then, getting out and doing something for myself every morning, a run and a podcast or a walk and a podcast, just something to keep grounded and stay with it.
Got it. So you've kind of had like alternating freakouts.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think everybody's cracked here or there, right, along the way. Whether you're crazy busy at work like we are right now, or folks that are at home bored out of their minds, binging on all the Netflix, one way or the other, you're freaking out about something. So.
Yep. Got it. What about you? What's keeping you sane, Albert? I know it's the ice cream, right?
Yeah, the ice cream, of course. The podcast walks. I'm doing this similar to Cody. That helps. You got to get outside because it's craziness just being stuck in here. Dude, as lending people, we're usually indoors so much, so I have to go out. I'll do a jog, I'll skip some rope, usually outdoors, and got to get my pokey fix. My favorite pokey spot.
What's your favorite pokey spot?
It's Seattle Fish Guys over in Central District.
Man, I try to stay away from poke around here. I go to Hawaii a lot, and it's like every time I eat anything in Hawaii and then I come back here, I'm like slightly disappointed. But whatever.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Can't blame
All right,
you.
so yeah, there's what's kind of the strangest thing you guys have seen during this time? Like, it could be like an internet video or like, I don't know, somebody saving somebody or yelling at somebody. Like, what's the craziest thing that you guys have seen over the last couple of months?
For me,
I've seen some. Go ahead, Cody.
Whatever.
I was going to say some people are at the supermarket were freaking out. I was 5 feet away instead of 6 apparently, and that wasn't enough. I was in the bubble, so I got yelled at for being in the bubble. I don't know. That's a little crazy, but I get it. They're afraid. So.
Oh man, I can't say that I haven't witnessed that either in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Well, you, Cody.
Tiger King for sure. High on the list.
What's that?
Did you watch the whole thing?
Oh yeah. Had to watch that one.
I couldn't watch it.
Usually it's early in the morning or late at night when I need a break. Let's see. Yeah, and that's probably the funniest, weirdest thing for sure. There's been some kind of strange mortgage stuff going on. In early to mid-March, there was this swing in the mortgage-backed securities market that was a wilder swing than we'd ever seen. The normal ebb and flow in a mortgage-backed securities market is probably 25 to maybe 35 basis points in a day, right? Like that's a normal, like if the market moves like 35 basis points, you're like, whoa, the market's really moving today. And there was like a string of 2 weeks straight where it was like 250 basis points every day from high to low, right? So it was super weird. We were losing our minds, like what's going on? Like rates went from 3 1/8 to 5% in 4 days. We're like, okay, I guess this mortgage runs over. What are we gonna do next? And then a week later, things are getting back to where they were before. So yeah, that was a strange couple of weeks. It was when the stock market was going down, the mortgage rates were going up. Like all of a sudden, just nobody wanted anything to do with any finance. So that was a strange time.
A lot of illiquidity. Yeah, that was like, and for people that don't know what basis points are, that's like, just portions of percent, right? So 100 basis points would be 1%. And, like Cody said, to see a swing of, like even half a point in a day would be unfounded. But, to see your interest rate go from 3% to 5.5% in the same day, you're like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
And that was, everybody was just kind of hitting the freak out button. They all dusted off their 2018, how to deal with craziness playbook. And we're like, okay, I don't want those anymore.
Yeah.
All right. So right about 10 minutes is, I think when, some or most of people end up showing up. So welcome everybody. If you want to type where you're from, that's actually kind of helpful. We've had some visitors from kind of all over the country. So, if you could say, hey, man, how's it going? I'm from, I guess somebody said they're from Lakewood. Anyway, Lakewood's the jam. Oh, Sammamish too. There you go. So, my name is Fred Rea, the founder of Rain City Capital. We are a local hard money company in Washington and Oregon. And I've been in the mortgage business for a while, but not the mortgage business these guys do. I'm in the hard money stuff. But I did start out in doing what these guys do. I quit because I couldn't hack it. I hated every second of it. But these guys are, in their own right, absolutely crushing it. Cody, you got 20 years of experience in this business. He's not only flipped houses. He used to be my competitor when we would take, cashier's checks at the foreclosure auction. He'd always have the big stack, and I'd be like, fuck that guy.
Oh, come on.
You're always really nice, but still, I've just, I've been able to watch this guy for a really long time. You're, branch manager now at Calbro Home Loans, got a big team, crushing tons of loans and, having a great time. But also you own a bunch of real estate too, right? Like
True.
you got, and then you said you have 80 doors now across the country and
80 doors currently and in contract to buy 46 more.
So if there's someone that actually lives it, breathes it, and also finances it, that's this guy. But also Albert, he's here too, and he's doing the exact same stuff. I remember I met Albert probably 4 or 5 years ago. He got referred to me somehow. I ended up helping you. I think it was Crazy Duplex or something like that. So Albert, he's been in the business, mortgage business 10 years, slogging away. Unlike Cody, he's just kind of a one-man band, and he's still absolutely crushing it. How many units do you have now?
I mean, I don't normally do this many. It's probably about 25 units. That's a lot for me. So yeah, doing it all myself.
So both of these guys, they really know what the heck they're doing. They all work with investors. Both of them work with investors, and they take out a bunch of stuff from Rain City, the ones that we do for rentals and whatever. So anyway, thank you guys for coming on. I really appreciate you coming and hanging out with me, having a drink with me, and hopefully adding a little bit of value to the folks that are on here and the folks that are watching live on Facebook. So my first and always my favorite question, not necessarily always my favorite question, but the ones that provides the best stories. What was your first job, and what did you hate or love about it? Albert, you can start.
I worked at Target. I was a cashier, and I was 17. So I thought that was how jobs are supposed to be. I didn't know you couldn't eat lunch on your break at the kiosk. Apparently, I did that, and I got fired. So that I was a cashier, and it is what it is.
Did you just grab like a Twix off the thing, scan it, pay for it, and then just start eating it at lunchtime?
You know how Target has the food area next. When you walk in, there's a Starbucks in the food area, right?
Yep.
On the right or left. And I got a little snack, and apparently the manager found out it was under the register, and off I went to the next job.
How long were you there?
4 months, yeah.
Oh, that's not bad.
It's a high school job. So.
Hey, 17, making it happen.
Yeah.
And are you from around here, or?
No, it was in Foothill Ranch. It's where Loan Depot is, the headquarters for Loan Depot, pretty much.
All right, Cody, what about you? What was your first job, and what did you hate and or love about it?
Yeah, so man, I started working when I was like 10. I lived in Olympia area, and I'd take care of the neighbors' pets while they were gone on vacation. I'd house sit. I'd do whatever. We moved to Stila when I was in high school, and I would change sprinkler lines, and I'd ride my 3-wheeler over to the neighbor's house and feed their animals, do all that kind of stuff. And then when I actually got my driver's license, my first real job was flipping burgers at a diner in Stila, Washington, just outside of Yakima, Kings Row.
Dude, so you're like a born and bred Washingtonian, huh?
Oh yeah, never lived anywhere else.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. For some reason, I thought you were somewhere else. But
Nope.
Growing up in the sticks on the farm, huh?
Oh yeah. So I grew up in Olympia. We were cosmopolitan compared to the thriving metropolis of Stila, Washington. National headquarters of Treetop Apple Juice. I'll have you know though. So they're famous for something. But yeah, it was definitely on the farm. We had 4 acres and, some animals and a little bit of space. And yeah, so I mean, I enjoyed that. That was a high school job. It was kind of the local hangout where all the kids would go. So it was kind of fun to be around that. The adults would work during the day and the kids would work the nights and the weekends. And so I got to work with a bunch of my buddies and friends. And so, yeah, it was a fun job. I mean, obviously I was flipping burgers for minimum wage, so that wasn't great, but the rest of the job was pretty fun.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think we all started out somewhere, right? You always got to do something.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the mortgage biz. I mean, I can tell you right now, I was around in 2008, and I was in the mortgage business in 2008, and I got to watch shit just completely melt down, and in some ways this has kind of been the same, and in some ways it's really just been way weirder. And a lot of it's just because of speed and everything else, right? Who would have thunk a pandemic? But and I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, so I kind of want to stay concise if we can, because I can just blabber about this stuff forever.
Sure.
I think with a lot of real estate investors here, and that are listening on this call, cash out refinances, BRRRR, and whatnot. Those are the things that I think people are really kind of asking me questions now, and like, hey, how do we go and do this? So let's start unpacking. Like, first of all, are cash out refinances a thing now, or is cash out refinances completely gone, or is it somewhere in between?
No, we're still doing them. I've seen them disappear at a lot of other institutions, and some folks are offering them, some folks are not. Big banks, Wells Fargo, Chase, they've all shut that down. I don't know for sure, but I heard through the grapevine that Fairway had stopped doing them as well. But we're doing them at Caliber. There are standard COVID overlays for any type of loan, but as far as how we're operating cash out, it's pretty much status quo.
Got it. And what are some of those like standard overlays, so to speak?
Oh, well, I don't want to get too nerdy on you, but probably one of the big ones is for self-employed folks. We're going to have to either show a significant amount of reserves and recent deposits, or we're going to have to give them a haircut on their income of 25%.
Got it. So basically, if you're self-employed, you're not employed at all.
well, what it means is you need to be able to qualify for what you're doing on 75% of your income, right? And that's kind of the idea, right? And that's a similar number to what we use for vacancy and management on a new rental property, right? Yeah. If you're self-employed, we're not 100% sure how your employment is going to operate in the new reality of COVID, right? And that said, like if you run a restaurant, you're probably in decent trouble right now, right? I mean, like restaurants, bars, those folks, they're still not open, right? They might be operating carry out, but that's probably 30 to 40% of sales volume. So they're struggling, right? If you're a self-employed mortgage broker or real estate agent, you might be crushing it, right? So it just depends, right?
Yep. So Albert, what about you? Are you still seeing cash out refinances happen? Is it still kind of the what Cody was talking about? Is it a little bit more difficult? What are you seeing?
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's similar storyline with Cody, what he's mentioning. I'm approved with Caliber too. That's their guidelines for the brokers as well. So I operate as a broker, and every lender is a little different. Some, they have surcharges where they'll charge you extra to do the cash out. Some have no extra charge, but they'll ask for the last 10 days of your bank statements if you're self-employed, or like Cody mentioned, they'll haircut your income 10 to 25%. Or some say that if you have enough money, like let's say you have 6 to 12 months of reserves, they won't haircut any of your income, but you have to show the money. So you got to have the money. Otherwise, they do the haircut. So that, I think that's fair, because if you've got a bunch of money, you could probably weather the storm. We can use what you said on your return last year or whatever.
Cool. Okay. So cash out refis are there. It's just a little bit, the credit box is slightly tighter, which is all really good news. I've heard of, like you said, like the Chase of the world, like cash out refinances aren't happening anymore. So, and that kind of goes around with, the BRRRR method, obviously, what is it? Buy, renovate, refinance, and repeat, or what? I don't know.
You got to rent it first.
You got to rent it too.
Fred.
Yeah. Shoot. Well, I know I
Unless your income is so good, if your income is so good, you don't even need the rental income. You don't even get the lease.
No big deal.
We can add one more R on the end there and retire. That's my favorite R.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
me too. I like that.
That's too many R's. I'll never remember.
It's a lot of R's. It's really cool.
So is the Burr method dead? Like, can we still do it? And
Nope.
what strategies do you have just from as the guys that are doing the takeout? What strategies do you have for us as real estate investors to kind of help get there, or to make sure that we are kicking ass and actually doing the Burr?
Yeah. Well, so I would say this advice is advice I gave before COVID, but it still stands in, and now it's even more important, is get approved first, right? Get your takeout loan approved before you go buy something you think you're going to Burr, because you may not be able to do the end takeout financing under current conditions. And if you can't, that's a tough spot to be, right? Especially if you paid cash, right? If you're in hard money with Rain City, at least you've got a loan and you can keep monitoring that. It's going to cost you a little more money than you thought it was going to, but you can keep going. But if you sunk a bunch of cash into a Burr and you were banking on the delayed financing refinance, and you can't get that back out, that might be trouble.
Got it.
Yeah, but we're still doing Burrs right now. I've got a couple in Tennessee that are happening right now. We've got a couple in California and a couple in Washington. So people are still doing them. I think that this is probably another topic, but if we get to the point where you can find some discounts on real estate, then it'll be even more fruitful than it was before.
Got it. And do you have anything to back that up, Albert, as far as the Burr and what I guess advice you'd have for us real estate investors?
Is to structure your loans so that you don't have to do a cash out takeout. You can do a rate and term. It's kind of like when we first met, right? With the collateral loans that Rain City does.
Yep.
So you structure it so you can do a rate and term. Your pricing is so much better. But in general, in terms of doing Burrs, I mean, I'm harping back to what Cody mentioned, is not only get approved first fully, but figure out where you're at, where you're going, and when your project is going to take place. Because a lot of my people are self-employed. We use tax returns for income, right? So if they're filing 19s and it's going to be better, I would encourage them to file it earlier so we can use it. So their purchasing power is greater. They could probably do 2 Burrs in this period of 1. Maybe their 18 income wasn't as good as 19. So stuff like that. We do the planning. I work with the CPAs. I review draft returns and back and forth. That's mainly what I like to work on. But I still do first-time buyers and all that. Not my main niche though.
Well, man, it's all of that is good news. And for those of you who don't know, Rain City, and I don't think we're the only ones. We'll take cash as collateral. So instead of just like we would take another free and clear property as collateral, instead of putting a down payment, we'll take actually your cash, and we have an agreement. We put that cash off to the side, and we hold on to that until you pay us off. And there's a whole lot of other stuff in that, but it's a unique way that is not fraudulent, that is totally legitimate to be able to do a rate term refi at the end. Rather, it does cost you more, but you can still do it. So I guess even on top of that, just to layer a little bit more, as I know you guys are multifamily investors. I am myself. What are the differences you guys are seeing in multifamily and in commercial stuff? And if you say like, hey, I don't necessarily do that stuff, that's fine too. But I'm interested. Are you seeing that market still or is it dried up right now? Are people having a tough time getting financing on anything more than 4 units, or is it still kind of status quo?
I can speak to that a little bit on my own personal experience. I have had a tough time with commercial on my Tennessee. I've got a Tennessee 42 unit building that's under contract, and we explored a lot of different sources for that, and the guidelines just kept getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And we ended up going with a local bank that was familiar with the property and was willing to extend financing on it. So I guess I would say it depends on what you're doing. There's commercial realm is so segmented that, between small balance and large balance, and is it Fannie or is it broker? I mean, is it portfolio? I ended up going with a local bank for now, and then I think once we get this thing more stabilized, we'll probably go back to a Fannie direct.
Got it. What about you, Albert? Do you have anything to add?
I mean, I don't do any commercial personally, but I closed one right in the middle of the COVID thing, the 19th of March. I was scared I wasn't going to close, It's a local credit union, commercial, cross-collateralization type of debt service, income debt service product. And I was concerned it wasn't going to close, but apparently it went off without a hitch, or maybe they didn't adjust their guidelines till after March. Who knows exactly?
Yeah. I imagine if you got that done then, it might not happen now, yeah.
Yeah, who knows? It was the 19th. I mean, that's didn't they shut everything down the 17th? Isn't that when was it March 17th?
It's been continually changing for my experience. So, yeah.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
All over the place. That's definitely very crazy. So, what about the jumbo market? Is jumbo just, is it gone? Is it coming back? I mean, I know that, real estate above, $1 million, $1.5 million is still kind of having a tough time just because they're, everybody's working with it, with a lack of liquidity in the jumbo market. What's going on with the jumbos right now?
Want me to go first, Cody? Or
yeah, go ahead.
Go.
I mean, I would like to say they're gone, but it's not. They're actually on the rate sheet because I'm a broker. I see all these, even Calibers and Quickens and UWMs and all these other lenders. They're priced so expensive that I would have to say they're gone. But my friends at big banks, they say they're doing well. They're still in the 3s with no points. Some of them are below 3 if you have enough cash. If you move over and create a relationship with them, they'll give you better pricing. So I guess big banks, I would say, if you want reasonably priced. However, they're very strict. So
yes.
Yeah, it's like you can.
And not speedy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not speedy.
So.
Yeah, I actually just had a conversation with a friend of mine that had a $2 million loan they were looking to place, and my best advice to her was to explore a relationship with a bank, right? And she said, well, I had everything with Wells, and here's what they told me. And then a friend of mine got this deal with KeyBank, and same thing. They said they wanted $100,000 in a deposit in an account to make a relationship, right? And she said, couldn't I just take that money out after? I was like, you sure could, right? They can't force you to keep it there. But they were at 2.875 on a 15-year.
Oh, 15, so, that's not bad.
Yeah, and I didn't, and that's what I told her. I was like, that's not bad. So on my rate sheet, anything in-house with Caliber, they're shut down, right? So you look at the rate sheet, there's going to be some holes. There are going to be some blank spots in there right now. We have some broker relationships where 30-year fixed, probably 3.5, 15 years, probably like 3.25. So we're right in there. And if the big bank can't get it done, or on a refinance, give them all the time in the world. That's fine. I had a friend of mine that refinanced with Bank of America because he just had to get this done. He had 76 different loan disclosures that went out to him, right? So that tells you that they have a tough time wrapping their brain around complex deals, right? And so, I said, if you want to get this done and have the absolute best rate, then KeyBank's probably your spot. Drop $100,000 in, give them 90 days, see what happens. But if you're in a purchase or you need to close within a 30, 45-day window time, you need somebody like Albert, right? Like you can't go to the big banks and expect them to execute quickly.
Yeah. Well, they're funding all the PPP money, right? And they're like, man, cash grabbing right now.
Yeah. Well, that was part of the reason why my commercial loan got delayed too, was he said, we're too busy with PPP. Like I can't work on your loan. And I was like, crap.
I was talking to my banker, and the SBA on like a big year is 25 to 30 billion. And they just pushed 500 billion.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
All hands on deck.
Yeah, you got to believe it's just a total shit show over there. like the coffee is full all the time, and people's hair is just like, oh man. One of the things that, especially for us, is real estate investors too. There was this whole new market that was starting to evolve. Non-QM being part of it, but also, for real estate investors, there was takeout financing that was, really cash flow related, and the rates were in like the fives, and along with everything that was non-QM, non-qualified mortgage, like that stuff just kind of went away too. And I'm curious what you guys think or feel, hear, or know about that portion of the mortgage market that, was out there, but, seems to just, disappeared overnight. Do you guys feel like that mortgage market is going to come back anytime soon? What are your thoughts on that in general? And do you think that we'll see those loans in the future? Albert, go.
Well, I'll say most of my non-QM people are lights off, or they switch to doing agency, which is conventional loans, lender speak for conventional financing. I have some that are now conventional lenders, so that's pretty interesting. But yeah, I think I've heard rumors of it coming back, but I haven't seen anything that's a meaningful price yet, meaning like a reasonable price. It's there, it's just really expensive on my end.
Yeah, it'll come back. I mean, it always comes back, right? Like in 2009, there was like, oh my gosh, this will never happen again. And, and a lot of that stuff didn't come back, but we started getting a little bit closer to it, right? We tiptoe in. There was some no income loans out there. There was some asset-based loans out there. We're starting to get back to that A- type of paper, maybe even a little bit of subprime. And then now the nature's way of smacking us back into reality of like giving us this this disease, this virus that's calmed down those standards again. But it'll happen, right? I mean, there's a certain amount of appetite for that, right? There's every increase you have in interest rate allows for more defaults, right? And so it's a risk reward sort of thing. And so if you charge more for something, you can handle more defaults and you can take a bigger risk. So I'm sure it'll come back. Is it going to be next month? Probably not. I could see it probably as we get into 2021, we start to see that open back up again.
Yep. Man, such a crazy time. If I asked that question to you guys 2 months ago or a month and a half ago, probably would have been a totally different answer.
Yeah.
It's amazing what time will do to all. Time heals, right? We're healing together. So most of us real estate investors, what advice would you give to the real estate investors, knowing what you know about the mortgage market and assuming that we want to hold property long term? You got a bunch of people that's sitting across the desk from you right now that want to learn more from you. What advice would you give to them to best kind of circumnavigate these crazy waters and to set themselves up for the next year or two as the mortgage market starts to kind of open back up again?
Yeah, I'd say get liquid, right? Stack up cash, be ready. I get so many people are telling me they're pushing pause until this thing's over, and I'm like, that's the absolute wrong thing to do. You need to bargain hunt, right? Because if you're looking, you're going to find a great deal. Don't force a great deal, right? Like don't buy everything that there is possible to buy, but don't stop looking either, right? Because when you stop looking, you're going to miss it. And my other advice there is a rising tide lifts all boats, right? If you buy some at the peak of the market and you buy some at the bottom of the market and you buy some along the way, when eventually the tide keeps going up, you're gonna do well on all those investments, right? Some of them might just get back to even, but if you only bought at the peak and didn't buy at the bottom, and then we got back to the peak, well, you didn't make any money, right?
Yep.
You've got to keep buying along the way. And then, I think leverage is key, right? So many times people they want to shy away from hard money on their leverage. But like Albert brought up earlier, if you properly leverage a BRRRR with great hard money and a cash secure deposit, you don't have to do a cash out refinance. So you might be stepping over, a dollar to pick up a dime by saving a few bucks on interest or saving a few bucks on points. But instead you cost yourself on the end loan, the one you're going to have for 10 or 15 years, right? So I would say, the make sure that you get in with somebody that's doing this, right? Albert and I are different kind of loan officers, right? Not every loan officer has the knowledge that we have, and most don't do what we do, right? So we're doing the same thing that our investors are trying to do. So I would say that's my advice right now. And the other key is stay connected, because our advice changes, right? What we said 3 months ago is different from what we're saying now as far as advice. So get liquid, stack up cash, right? Like, be ready, but don't push pause. Keep on the deal hunt.
Keep on keeping on.
That's right.
Nice.
I like that. I like that. What about you, Albert? What advice would you give us?
I mean, I usually work with people who are always trying to figure out what they're going to qualify with in the future. So most people I work with are usually self-employed, or there's some form of investor, or sometimes all they have is investments and notes income, or all they do is flips and rentals. So we're staying ahead of the ball, where obviously he was mentioning save the cash and stay liquid. But yes, so we're planning ahead to anticipate the guidelines that are changing. So I'm keeping in touch, calling up people, is letting them know, hey, here's where the guidelines are at right now, and here's where I think they'll go just in the short term. And then there's been some cases where some lenders actually went back. I had a lender that said they're not going to do any more rental income at all. And then they came back a month and a half later in just early May here, and they said, now we're going back to normal. So every lender changes. You never know exactly where they're at. And this is like all conventional lending, but it's how they perceive their guidelines. That's going to be the difference between getting it approved, for whatever price, because they all have their little differences in price, although it's similar. They do calculate a little differently. And some lenders are more tough for underwriting income versus others. We just, on my end, we have to know where to submit it to get that specific execution. Like if I get a realtor that says, hey, we have 15 days to close, I know exactly where I'm sending that, versus somebody who already owns the property and time is not key. They have all the time in the world. I think what we were mentioning earlier is that there's a different lender for that as well. But that's what I'm doing, Repair, is letting my clients know where the reserves need to be, what our income's going to need to look like on the taxes, and make sure if the property is in service for 300 days, tell your CPA, do not put 365, because as a lender, we're going to divide that income by 12 months, even though you only received it for 10. It's going to look really crappy for your net income calculation. So that's an example. That happens all the time, like 100 times out of maybe 101. So, just saying it. I don't know, Cody, can you, what do you think, Cody? I mean, on that.
Oh, that happens all the time. Yeah. It's because, and even when people self-prepare, they're like, well, it looks better, right? It lowered my taxes. I'm like, yeah, it lowered your taxes and it keeps you from buying a house, right? Like,
yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't even really think of that. I always trust my CPA, and I've bought properties in the middle of a year and only had portions of it. But I wonder.
Yeah. Yeah. CPAs they just autofill there most of the time, right? And not to rag on CPA, right? I mean, I'm sure plenty of them do it right, but I see it so many times. And one of my clients said, "Oh yeah, they just they just autofill that 365. Can we write a letter of explanation?" I was like, to the IRS, sure, and then amend your return and fix it, make it right, and pay your taxes, right?
Man, that's really
crazy
interesting.
Stuff.
That's actually really this is the stuff that I get off on, the little technical things. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of cool, but I never really thought about it. There are new things every day, right?
Gosh,
Fred, it only matters if your income's really tight. Maybe yours, you've got a decent amount, so you don't need to worry about that.
Yeah, but either way, it's still one of those things that it's something to look at. And if your portfolio is big enough, and let's just say you buy 60 units in June, and all of a sudden it's like you're it just looks bad if you don't actually make that proration.
Yeah, it might affect your loan in 2021 when you're going to apply.
Yeah.
They're going to ask you for your 19s and 20s. And what are you going to show them? The ones with the incorrect days in service?
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Something to note. Hey, man, I appreciate that. I got a little nugget for me today. You learn new things every day. So, I have kind of a slew of questions, and I don't want to get too much. Usually spend the last 15 minutes, um, talking to folks and answering some of their questions. So if you guys do have questions, put them in the Q&A box down there. I know, I think we have a couple, but they're in the chat. So if you can find the Q&A thing, that is super helpful because things tend to get lost in the chat. And Jeff and Madeline are out there trying to help out too. If any of you want to come up and say hi to Cody, myself, or Albert, we'd love to have you come up and do that too. But, it's okay if you're afraid to. One of my favorite questions, and I'm not going to ask you where the market's going to go because everybody's rubbing their crystal ball.
Eventually, it'll go up.
Eventually, it will.
Yeah.
It was. I had a meeting with some friends, and we just pulled out the Dow, and over the last 30 some odd years, it just goes like this, right? It's all cyclical. It's like it's just time, right?
Yep.
What's your biggest win in quarantine? Like what are the things you look back, and it could be personal, it could be professional. Everybody's kind of, like you said, Cody, like we've all kind of had our cracks, we've all had our stuff, like what's the biggest win that you guys have experienced over the last 60, 75 days or however long we've been dealing with this crap? Who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Albert.
First.
I'd say, I did more production than all of last year, probably in the first 5 months this year. So, I mean, that's a win, I guess, I would want more of my time back, but hey, it's a win from the metrics point of view, right? From the digits point of view. But I don't consider that complete success. Time is important too. So.
True. Very true. So maybe you can think about it. Maybe there is another one in there that you can give us.
I'll let Cody go in that one.
Yeah,
I
Cody.
think.
Cody,
from a metric standpoint, like this, after this month, our first 5 months will be my 5th best year ever. After 5 months, right? So the first 5 months will be bigger than my first 15 years in the business in 5 months. And and this month will probably be the average loan production of a loan officer. We'll close probably $25 million this month in personal production. Wow. And a great living for a loan officer is $24-25 million a month or a year. Right?
A year.
Yeah, in a year, right? So
I was gonna say.
Yeah, so just an insane amount of volume. I mean, that's absolutely a big win. And there's challenges along the way, and we're battling here and there. And the time is a big one because I value my time, and I had 3 big vacations planned for this time frame that none of which came true, right? For me, a big win is figuring out how to get this 42 unit in Tennessee done inside of this giant mess too. So that's been great. Having a little extra time at home has been good until it was maybe too much time at home. Like I'm the guy that's probably gone from the house for 12 to 14 hours out of the day, right? Between, and if I get a little gym time or go for a run and then go to the office and hang out there for who knows how long. So it's been interesting to have that extra time at home. So that's kind of been a win, and extra time with my girl, but man, it's been a lot of work too, right? So
yeah, it sounds like it. I think
I guess the win there, sorry to interrupt, but like the win there is it is not lost on me how blessed we are to be really crushing lots of loans when friends and family and colleagues and clients are sitting at home because they can't go to work, right? Because they're shut down. They're non-essential construction workers or they're restaurant workers or what have you. So I mean, the win for me there is that I got a job, and it's a great job, and I'm able to put food on the table at home for 9 different employees that are on my team. So that, I mean, to me, that's super win. We feel pretty good about that.
That's amazing, man. That's there's something to be said about that for sure. And congrats. I think one of the biggest years I ever had was like $25 million. Oh man, that's awesome. What do you think, Albert? Did you go back and do you think about a new one, or do you just want to pass?
No, it's just focusing on what you were saying. all rings true. So
Yeah, honestly, like it's with as much doom and gloom has been kind of going on a lot lately. It's really cool to see. You know, for me, I've had a plenty of good years, and Rain City has just been crushing it. And I'm an entrepreneur to the core, and to see people like you guys that are like absolutely killing it, it lights my fire, gets me excited, and it's cool to see. It's like I think a lot of other people, there might be jealousy, but if people are winning, guess what? That means that other people are going to be winning, and then we'll employ more people, and like it just keeps kind of going on and going on. So anyway, thanks for crushing it. Thanks for freaking making stuff happen. I love to hear it, and man, I'm interested to see your guys' paychecks in the next couple of months here. I need some money, man. I got some stuff to do.
Oh, I think you're sitting on tons of money.
I'm doing okay. All right, so let's see here. Let's see.
Hey, I saw in the chat, and I'll answer if you don't mind. Nick Rucker had a question about HELOCs. You can absolutely use a home equity line of credit for for down payment, closing costs. That's no problem at all.
Yeah, there's can investors still do HELOCs behind their first? Is that a real thing right now too?
Yeah, you can. We've seen limited loan to values now. Maybe some actual caps on the loan amount as well. I'd heard maybe $100,000 at VCU. I don't know that for a fact, but I'd heard they were limiting to 70% loan to value and $100,000 max. That said, I would say right now values have held pretty solid. And Albert, I imagine you probably conferred not a lot of short appraisals or anything like that. Most of our purchase business is at or above list, right? So we're seeing good competition for housing right now. If we start to see values start to shrink, that would be where my advice or my experience from 2007 and 8 would be, if you've got a HELOC and you're dependent on that money for liquidity or for down payment, advance it. Take the money out, start paying the interest on it, put it in the bank, and be ready to use it to make a good purchase. Because what happened in 2007 after the 2006 and 7 crunch was they started freezing lines of credit. And so if you had a $200,000 line of credit with maybe a $50,000 balance and you thought you had $150,000 in liquid attainable cash, that mortgage lender could come back and say, hey, the value of your home or the value of this asset has gone down. We're going to freeze your line of credit, so you can't draw on it anymore. And personal experience, how I got to the number of doors I have right now is 100% attributed to me taking an advance on my line of credit in late 2006 on the house that I just bought. If I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have had the same nest egg to get started on flipping through auction and buying and holding rentals.
Got it. Yeah, I did the COVID cash grab. I had a line of credit on my house. I was like, yep, give it all.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Yeah,
I'm lucky because I have a place to put it, right? But not everybody has a place to just not eat the interest. But yeah,
sure.
that was one of the first things I did as being a child of 2008.
Yeah, well, and that was my thought too, was like on any flip that I did in 2009, 10, 11, I'd make 20 to 50 grand, maybe more in a rare instance. So if I'm going to look at that and say, hey, I'm going to put 200 grand in the bank and it's going to cost me 5%, that's $10,000 in a year, right? I'll sit on that $10,000 cost for a year, knowing that if there's a 5 or 10 or 15% reduction in values, I'm gonna make it up big time. And if there isn't, then I'll put that money into a rental and I'll make it back slowly, right? But if there's a flip opportunity, I want to be ready, and I don't want somebody to tell me, hey, this money's not yours anymore,
Yep, you can't take that.
Sorry. Right. Yeah.
Albert, are you seeing home equity lines of credit? Are you doing any
of them? A lot of them
or?
got frozen, especially those ones that you do after the closing on their first loan, or just a second only. They call them standalone seconds or piggybacks. But I can still do the ones that are concurrent, just only on primary and second homes. I do have a product, the first line position line of credit, that can be done on investment properties up to 70 and 75.
Got it.
So there are some lines of credit, but they're extremely conservative, meaning they'll need 10% of the loan amount in reserves in terms of cash or credit or stocks or whatever. And you'll only be able to get out 70 or 75% of your value. And they underwrite the income as principal and interest, and at a higher rate. So it really only for the people with very good income, I would say, and at least decent credit, 700 or higher, with lots of cash reserves, you can still get it.
Got it. The it looks like Marilee Matthews. She said regarding HELOCs, what are the chances of banks recalling them? I mean, we were just talking about it, but if you're gonna put like a percentage on it, like what would like? Do you think it's like 10%, 20%, 50% that they're?
I don't know. Cody has more experience than that, right? Did
would
they
say-
do anything to yours, Cody?
What's that? Sorry, Albert?
Did they do anything to your line in 08?
Yes, yeah, it absolutely got frozen, but it was after I
Oh.
pulled the entire balance out and put it in the bank, and then they said, "Oh, hey, by the way, you can't do any more draws," and I was like, "Okay," so I just didn't pay it back, right? So I would use it and I'd put it back in the savings account. I'd use it and I'd put it back in the savings account. And then once we got past probably like 2012, then you could refinance it. So what I would say is it's not a long-term problem, it's a short-term problem. But the problem with that is there's going to be short-term opportunity, right? That was the thing. If I wasn't involved or interested in flipping, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But I was interested in finding a way to pay my bills while mortgage business went way off, right? And so for me, I had to flip, right? I was really required to. And then as we were coming out of that market, I went from flipping to buy and hold. And so then that money was useful there too. But I would say if we see a 10% reduction in value, I would say 80% they're going to freeze lines of credit, right? That's going to happen.
Yeah.
And as evidenced by, and you mentioned this earlier, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it, but speed. The speed at which things are changing and happening now compared to 2006, 7, 8, 9 is unbelievable. It's light speed compared, right? And so we're seeing companies make changes that are memories of, they're happening in a snap because they're remembering what happened to them in 9, 10, and 11 when they were working through the slog of foreclosures, short sales, and loan modifications. So, no finer example than Chase, right? JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon was around, and he helped navigate one of the biggest banks around to get out of that mess. And when this started happening, he said, "No more, right? We're not issuing mortgages unless you got 700 credit score and 20% down. That's it. Like that's our credit box."
Yep.
Right? Oh, cash out refinance? No thanks. Go somewhere else, right? So those are the lessons of the past shining through right now. And so if we start to see, and I gotta believe that Chase will be one of the first that will freeze a line of credit, right? So if you don't have one with Chase, watch your friends that do, and that'll be your weather vane, right? That'll be your canary in the coal mine. But if you start to see values slip, then I would pull that money out right away, put it in the bank, try to earn a couple of percent interest on it on something, and then go put it to work when the values do slip.
Yep. I've been cautiously optimistic the whole time, and there is not a single indicator that says that real estate prices are going to slide, with the exception of unemployment being, 30 plus million people.
Yeah, we were talking about that the other day, and I think a lot of that unemployment is probably not homeowners, right?
Yep.
Like you've got folks that are in the some are trades, some are restaurants, some are service and entertainment, right? Those are the big hit markets. Not to say that none of those folks own homes, because I'm sure they do, but the bigger majority of the folks that are on unemployment, I think, are not homeowners. And then the folks that are in that realm, they've got forbearance. So they don't have to not make their payment, right? The mortgage company says, "Hey, we're cool not taking your payment for 3 months." And again, that's another lesson from the past, right? If we'd had forbearance in 2006 and 7, maybe the crush wouldn't have been so bad, right? So this is the reaction of the market, the government, the mortgage companies to try to not let what happened then happen again. And I think at a certain level it's working, right? And I say that because it's funny, because like my investment philosophy has been workplace housing, right? I want to have a 2-bed, 1-bath on a bus line that I can charge $1,100 for in Linwood, right? Like something that's always going to be rented, recession proof, right? Well, unfortunately, those people that rent that place are probably the ones that are unemployed, right? Like I thought I was doing all the right things to recession proof my portfolio, and they're the ones that probably are hurting more than your luxury buyers or your luxury renters, right? Folks that would work at an Amazon or a Microsoft or a Google, and they're not really feeling the pinch. Yeah, they got to work from home, so maybe they're tired of their kids or their spouse or whatever, but they're still getting their paycheck, they're paying their rent. So, it's kind of funny, like the past we'll learn lessons from, but you can't ever bank on it being exactly the same.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
That's crazy.
Man, that's so wild. So actually, Cody, I think I'm best to answer this, but you might be able to answer this too.
Lay up for Fred, from Fred.
From Fred, for Fred. Brian answered the question. He said, probably dumb question, but if I got approved for a hard money loan, let's say it's up to $200K, will in a pre-approval letter be sufficient enough to be able to purchase an auction property at the courthouse steps?
No. You need money, cash money, cashier checks. Call Fred. He can get you some cash.
Yeah, we can hook you up. If you're approved with Rain City, we can get you cash at the foreclosure auction. That's what we do all the time. And actually, interesting enough, foreclosure auctions are starting again. I mean, it's not that they ever really, stop for the most part, but foreclosure auctions are happening. It's, we've been, quietly sending cash to the foreclosure auction the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Do you see the list of pending offerings increasing, Fred?
What do you
for
mean?
the trustee sale?
I haven't. I should know the answer to this, but I have not gone and looked at the filing numbers. I haven't looked at it in the last 2 months. I didn't even think about it until you just asked me the question. That's probably that's dirty pool on me.
It's time to start thinking about it again.
I kind of think they're down though. I don't think a lot of people have done it. We work with the trustee too. We don't have a ton of foreclosures, but we do start foreclosures. And
I guess that's it. There's going to be more, but right now I think there's a moratorium, right? Like they're not doing it.
Yeah, there's no moratorium on the process. There's a moratorium on the actual sale. So you can actually sell that property at the auction. If it was at one point an owner-occupied transaction, but if it's a commercial transaction, doesn't matter. And all of the Rain City stuff is applicable to that, right? So we don't do owner-occupied loans. Sometimes people move into them. Shame on you, not supposed to do that. But as long as they're not living in it, then you can go through the foreclosure process. That was also kind of one of the things that was very surprising, and. I was like, holy crap. Okay, we'll send some money down to the auction. Sure, that sounds good.
There you go.
Fun times. Well, we got 2 minutes left. I think we have maybe another question or two. Let's just try to get through this. If anybody wants Cody and or Albert's contact information, definitely just email us. I think that if it's okay with you guys, we can send your contact information out to all the people that were registered and attended and say, hey, here you go. Here's the recording. And if you guys want to see how beautiful I am and how big Cody's beer is, then there you go.
The beard is big and my beer is big.
Yes, that's awesome. I totally forgot to shave today. I'm doing my Jason Statham thing. So.
You actually are rocking that Jason Statham. That's right on the money. There you go.
That's like my wife's favorite guy, so I think she married perfect. She's right down the fairway. So I'll get another question. Let's leave. This is the last question. How soon do you think things will come back to normal and business activities will kind of come back to usual? Do you think it's going to be, last for less than a year, or is, this really kind of a recession that's going to be driving a lot of the lack of comeback? I think that's a decent way to kind of pack that answer.
Yeah, well, I'm no doctor. No scientist, but this feels different, right? Like if you're going to compare this to 2007, 8, 9. The response the level of response and the speed of response has been completely different. And you also keeping in mind that 2007, 8, 9 was brought on by really poor credit quality. And we don't have that, right? The folks that have been buying houses have had really good credit quality, right? It's been more difficult to get a loan, way more difficult to get a loan in the preceding 10 years than it was in the preceding 10 years leading up to 2006, right? So I don't think that we're going to have near the fall off that we had at that point in time. As far as how quick we get back to regular business activities, I mean, boy, that remains to be seen. I mean, even if they'd let you, would you go to a Seahawks game tomorrow? Right? I mean, like, you kind of got to
I've been thinking about that a lot.
Right? I know. Like, I really want them to have a season, but then I'm like, am I going to go? You know, like, am I going to go with a mask? Am I going to go in a full, like, plastic outfit with Seahawks all over it, right? I mean, I'm sure they're going to be selling those silly bags we have to take our if you're going to take something in the stadium, you got to take it in a clear plastic bag. I think we're all going to have to wear clear plastic bags to get in there, right? So, yeah, I mean, like, even if we could get back to normal, would you get back to normal, right? Are you going to go to the gym and work out on a sweaty treadmill that somebody else did? Are you going to go to a Seahawks game? Are you going to go to a concert? Probably not, right? Would you go to a restaurant? Yeah, I mean, I think I'm ready to go to a restaurant. Like, I would love to get out and see some things and see some people. But a 5,000 person concert, I don't know, man. That's tough.
Yeah, me either. I wouldn't do that either. But restaurant, I'm ready for a professionally made meal that I can sit down.
Dude, so. I miss pho. I miss going and sitting down in like the shady restaurant and the crappy service and just like I miss it all.
But
I miss
not having to make it your damn self, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Takeout's not the same. You can't do takeout.
The same. No, it's not the same at all. That was like I miss pho. I miss teriyaki and pho. Teriyaki you can still kind of get takeout, but pho, like it's the whole experience. That's like like pho, like if you get a glass of water, you never get a refill, right? Like it's just like the things that you just expect that like the experience. I miss it. I just miss that shadiness. I don't know why, but I love it. All right, fellas. Well, anyway, Cody, Albert, thank you so much for spending your time. I know both you guys are super busy, so we really appreciate it. Hopefully we added value to the folks who are on the call. You guys are rock stars. Keep crushing it out there. If it's okay with you guys, we'll send out your contact info to the folks that are on the call and the register. So if they have any other follow-up questions for us or for you, they can get a hold of you.
You bet.
Thanks for having a drink with me, sharing the mortgage biz. Hopefully the next drink that we have, cha-ching, is actually in person and not on a frickin' Zoom call because I think everybody's all zoomed out. But thank you. Thanks for everybody for coming on here. Hope you guys have a good night. And just so you know, it's National Chardonnay Day or International Chardonnay Day. So everybody
seems like an international holiday, yeah.
It is international, and I'm going to be drinking some Chardonnay this evening. So hopefully you guys do too. All right, y'all. Have a good evening.
Good talking to you guys.
Good to see you guys. Take care.
See ya.
Take care.
Bye.